section is number 5 from?
Technically 5.5.
5.5.
In number 5, what could you take out of the problem? 2. Because if I take out a 2, I'm left with an x squared, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. Remember, once you take the 2 out, you're just going to cover it up, and you go, okay, there are 2 terms, there's a subtraction sign, and I can write them both as squares. So I know this is difference of squares, and that's section 5.5. So that's how I'm determining it. I couldn't really say it here because I can't write 2 and 18 as squares, so I had to first take out the GCF, if there is one, and in this case there was, and then I looked at and saw what was left, and I can go a little bit further. So let me just rewrite the problem down here. We've got 2x squared minus 9. I'm going to ignore the 2, and remember on Thursday you want to write everything with a square, so it's going to be x squared minus, how could you rewrite
3 squared.
3 squared. Cross off the squares. So what are you left with when you cross the squares off?
X minus 3.
So you've got x minus 3. Let's see. Its conjugate, which is just the opposite sign there in the middle, x plus 3. And what's the only thing you got to remember to do? Down to 2. So this is your answer. So all I did was take a 2 out, and then I did the difference of squares. And I knew I could do difference of squares because there were 2 terms here in the parentheses. There was a subtraction sign, and I could write them both as squares. Let's see. Sure. Sure.
So why you can't write 18 squared? You said you can't do it?
Well, I can't. What squared would give you 18? There's 4 squared, that's 16. There's 5 squared, that's 25. There's nothing in between that would give you 18. Yeah, so you have to think of it. But your first step, no matter what, and there's one in the homework that Martina was asking me about where it was like 16 and 64. And she's like, well, couldn't I just write those as squares? Yes, but you got to take the GCF out first, which is 16. So that's always going to be your first thing you got to think about. Can you take out a common number? Was there a common number 6?
Yeah.
What would that be? 3. At first, this looks like an any-outy problem. That's how you're going to think about it. But you have to say to yourself, is there a common number first? And in this case, if I take a 3 out, I'm left with x squared. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Plus 3 goes into 12 4 times. So now if I cover that 3 up, what type of problem is that?
Simple.
Simple. And then simple came from 5.3. So I'm just going to bring this problem down. So I've got 3 squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the 3. I can make my 2 sets of parentheses. I have x and x. And what numbers multiply to 4 but could add or subtract to 4?
2 times.
2 and 2. And I need to add them, so they both need to be positive to give you the positive 4. And what's the only thing you got to remember to do?
Bring down your 3.
Bring down the 3. If you stop there, perfectly fine. I accept. No problem at all. Some of you might be going a little step further and saying 3x plus 2
Square.
squared. Means the same thing. Don't care which way you do it. You just need to know it can go a little bit further.
Which way we'll see it on the final?
Most likely this way, if they have that same problem. Yeah. But you just know that means they wrote it twice. But it doesn't matter for me which way you write it. Okay. Let's try 2 more. Let's see, I have 1 plus 1, 5c squared. This one's actually from your homework in 5.4. Plus 11c minus 12. And then number 8. Let's see if you can give those 2 a try.
And this is from 5-4 homework,
Mm-hmm.
both of them?
No, just the first one. Second one's from 5-5.